Okay guys, welcome back. We're going to continue on with the homework from Tuesday. This is the synopses. This is the synopses of teneo, tenere, tenui, tentus with the third singular. We're going to learn something a little bit new when it comes to present subjunctive, but you'll see that when we get there. So remember the process. First thing I want to do, I notice a lot of kids are not filling these in up at the top or not filling them in as they should be. We're going to translate the four principal parts. So teneo means I hold, right? That is the present indicative first person singular, okay? Active. Tenere is the present active infinitive, and it means to hold. All right. Tenui is the third person singular perfect indicative active, and that could mean I held or I have held. And tentus is the perfect passive participle and should be translated having been held. All right. So those are your translations. Always fill in those boxes. It's good practice. We're going to have a quiz on the synopses next week. Maybe even, I might even call it a test. And then you'll be able to fill those in. So always get the practice filling those boxes in. All right. So we have the present, the imperfect, and the future. Remember, this is called the present system. And we follow the same process we followed countless times before. But what is that process? First of all, we're going to look for the stem. Now, how do we find the present stem? We find the present system stem by dropping the RE of the second principal part. All right. Now, we would keep the E. This is the beautiful part of this one. And the E is there throughout, even in the first person singular. You'll notice it here in teneo. So the stem, the E stem is always there. Sometimes there's a macron, sometimes not. Now we're doing the third person singular, which is teenage, in our forms of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So there will not be a macron in the E. So we have tene, and then we add the T, tenet. So it is the present stem plus the personal ending. For the imperfect, we have tene. This time we keep the macron. Tene is our stem. We add the tense sign for the imperfect, which is ba. No macron here because there is a T at the end. So we end up with tenebat. All right, and last but not least in the future, we have the same situation. We have tene, then we have the tense sign be, and the personal ending T, tenebit. All right, so it would be the future. Let's look at the aspects of these, all right? So remember, there are several aspects, and you have to include the aspects. I've been reminding you to fill in that box, so let's go through those, okay? He holds. He is holding. He does hold. That's the emphatic. He does hold, the simple emphatic. So we have the simple, the continuous, he's currently holding, that's like a video, and he holds is the snapshot. He does hold is the emphatic, and then he always holds, which is habitual. Okay, he always holds. All right, so that would be the habitual form. Then we have in tenebat, we have the preferred form. This is the imperfect tense is past. The past with but incomplete action, hence imperfect. It's not a completed action. So you should have he was holding. So that is the continuous form. He used to hold. Habitual. He kept on holding. He kept on holding. And that likewise would be continuous. He kept on holding. And then finally the other alternative is he held, but that is understood as not completed. You always understand it that way. And for future, remember we have two tenses. That would be, or two aspects. That would be he will hold and he will be holding. All right. So that is the present system for teneo. Now we go down to the perfect system. The perfect system includes three tenses: the perfect, the pluperfect, and the future perfect. We're going to use a different stem for these. What stem do we use for these three tenses? We use the third principal part. We drop the I and we end up with tenu all the way throughout. Tenu for the pluperfect, tenu, and the future perfect, tenu. And then we're going to add various endings to this one. For the perfect, we're only going to have the personal endings. There's a special set of personal endings for the perfect. I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. We're doing third person singular, so we have tenuit. All right, no macron there. Tenuit. The pluperfect has its own tense sign. Do you remember what that is? That is era. Okay, and again, no macron on this one because we're dealing with the third singular, so it's T, tenuerat. All right, and finally for the future perfect, we have another tense sign, eri. All right, eri, and then we're going to add the personal ending, erit. All right, tenuerit. What are our aspects? Okay, for the tenuit, there are three. The preferred one is he has held. That is completed with reference to the present. Then we also have he did. Notice this is the simple emphatic. Here we have he does hold, and here in the past, in the perfect, we have he did hold. That's what makes the past. He has held, he did hold, and then the simple he held. All right, he held. Now for the pluperfect and the future perfect, we have the two. One aspect for both. We have he had held. Some of you guys are confusing these two. Had is absolutely in the past, hence pluperfect, more than perfect. It's completed way in the past, okay? He has held is the perfect. He had held is the pluperfect, and then the future perfect, he will have held. He will have held. All right. Now we're going to go to the subjunctive forms. We're going to learn something new today. All right. You know that you have a stem vowel mutation when we do the first conjugation. We haven't really learned this one yet, but I'm teaching it to you now because it's a fairly easy one. All right. We have a stem vowel mutation here. We still use the present stem tene, but we're going to erase the E. We're going to eliminate the E, and our stem vowel mutation for the present subjunctive is EA. EA. So we will have here, instead of tene, tenea. That is our stem vowel mutation for the second conjugation. And that works for all second conjugation verbs. Tenea. And then we add the personal ending T. So tenea. That should be your the stem vowel mutation there. Tenea. All right, so you have that as the present subjunctive. For the imperfect, the other ones follows the exact same rules. For the imperfect subjunctive, we use the second principal part, teneret, all right, and that would add the second principal part plus the personal ending. For the perfect, you remember that is the same as the future perfect subjunctive. So you have tenu erit. And then for the pluperfect subjunctive, we use again the third principal part stem, tenu. We add the tense sign ise, and then we add the personal ending T. No macron here. This is a T again, so that eliminates the macron. So you should have tenet, tenebat, tenebit, tenuit, tenuerat, tenuerit, teneat, tenere, tenuerit, and tenuiset. So that is it for our first one. I'm going to erase, but instead of the third person singular for our synopsis, we're going to use the first person singular. If I ever give you one of these on a test or a quiz, you'll be very happy because two of the answers will be in the principal parts. So we're going to write those out. Sum, esse, fui, and futurus. Now I did notice on some of you, you forgot what the translation was for the perfect passive participle of futurus. It's a complicated one, but I'll put that up there. So you should have I am. Okay, you should have to be as the infinitive. to be. Fui is I was, or the preferred I have been. And then futuros should be translated as going to be. Going to be. I noticed that in a few synopses. That was one you need to do. It's going to be. So we'll do the same thing here. We have the present, the imperfect, the future. And we're doing first person singular. So voila, here it is. Sum, right there. Because I always give you the principal parts when you're doing this, all right? So you should have sum. That is your first person singular active, right? And the translation is I am. Then we go here. We have era. You'll remember that. Era, and add the M. Eram. No macron here. I was, or I was being, is actually a better translation for the imperfect, okay? And then the future would be ero, okay? Which is I will be. I will be. So those are those forms for the present, the imperfect, and the future. Now we're going to skip over to the perfect. We're going to use that third principal part, little bunny foo-foo, and that is the perfect, the pluperfect, and the futperf as our three. All right, so what do we do for the perfect? Well, first of all, on all of them we'll have foo. And like I told you, in the perfect, you will have one of the answers already on the test, and there it is, fui. So fui is I was or I have been. I was, I have been. Pluperfect is fu. We're going to use this one, and indeed it's right here. It's the fueram. Okay, fueram. And likewise with the future perfect. Now we're going to see something unusual when we get into the subjunctive, but I'll talk to you about that when we get there. So you should have here fuero. We're adding the future here. You could just say ERI, but it's ERA here and ERI here, usually except in that first principal part. So we have fuero. And that would be I had been and I will have been. Then we're going to go to the forms of the subjunctive. So we will have the present subjunctive, the imperfect subjunctive, the perfect subjunctive, the perfect subjunctive, and the pluperfect subjunctive. All right, for the present, what do we remember? For the present subjunctive, we have that special group of words. Sim, sis, sit, simu, siti, sint. So we should have sim. For our first one, no macron there, sim. For the imperfect, we do the exact same thing we do with all imperfect subjunctives. We have esse, and then we add the M. So sm, no macron again. For the perfect, there it is. We have fu, e, but here's the difference. Here's the big point for the perfect subjunctive. You know how I told you that the future perfect is always the same as the perfect subjunctive? Except in this case. Instead of fuero, you will instead, for the perfect subjunctive, have fuerim. And that is true of all first persons. Okay? You have the change to the M. So you should have fuerim for the future, so the perfect subjunctive. And for the pluperfect subjunctive, you have fu, ise, and M. Fuisem. So that is, again, stem, tense sign, and the personal ending. Fuisem. And that completes our synopses. Hopefully you check these over all the time. And so we're going to have a quiz, like I said, I believe next Wednesday. We're going to have a synopsis quiz. So keep working hard, guys. God bless you all. And I hope your quarantine is going very well.